before time out here since then?
一番、イースティン大佐なんですけど、一番最初に沖縄に来たのは2001年になります。で、そこからですね、4回、沖縄に来てます。
So
4回目です。
I'm familiar with what the mission is of the Marines up here, and the challenge is in order to maintain the balance between our operational requirements and the impact that minimize the impact on the local communities.
なので沖縄のことはだいぶ分かってるんですけれども、その中で、ミッションどのようなミッションがあって、あとチャレンジですね、どのような問題点チャレンジがあるかというのもよく理解しています。
So during this brief, I'll share a little bit more for you to understand what are the Marines really doing out here in Okinawa and why, so you can better understand it. Look forward to the opportunity to have a conversation with you about it.
この、議題の中では、私たち、海兵隊がなぜここにいるのか、そしてどんな役割を担っているのかっていうのを、説明させていただきます。
And sir, I know that you said you disagreed with one of the comments that Captain Conte said, but I'm going to come back to that. And in the end, I think it's a misunderstanding. I think fundamentally you will actually agree with exactly what we're doing out here and why.
先ほどの質問でですね、理解はしたけれども、ちょっと共感ができないですという意見いただいていると思うんですけれども、そうではなくてもしかしたら、理解ミスアンダースタンディングでないかもので、この中でももう一つの話を、していただいて、お互い、理解し合えるかなっていうふうに思います。
My understanding is the majority of you are students, and I think a few are faculty. Probably easiest, who's faculty in here? If you don't mind, please. Okay.
Here and then.
Okay. Got it. And so pretending to be a student up front, but keeping everybody awake. I'm up here with some detailed questions. I appreciate it, sir. Because that was a good joke, not everybody. So in the end, what I'd like to start off with is asking you a question. Who would like to offer, why do you want to be a journalist?
先にですね、私から質問があるんですけれども、皆さん、ジャーナリストを目指されている方が多いと思うんですけれども、なぜジャーナリストになりたいと思ったんですか？
If anyone would like to share that, please.
誰かシェアしていただける方。
Please.
I'm going to use that question as just a storyteller, going into film and TV.
Okay.
But to tell stories means to give people a different perspective and ultimately shed light on maybe issues people aren't familiar with. Ultimately, I want people to come away with things that have already been told and feel as if they can understand the work and put a better light.
ですね、彼のやつだったんですけれども、違うお話を作ることによって、お話を伝えることによって、いろんな見方、物事一つにいろんな見方がいろんな、他の人にとっていろんな見方、他の見方をしてもらえる役割がしたいという理由でジャーナリストになりたいと思います。
Thank you for that. So anyone that wants to be a journalist or somebody that wants to do movies or something, they're going to give a perspective. They're searching for the truth as a journalist, and as somebody that's actually doing movies, it is a version of the truth. And so what I wanted to offer to everybody is I'm going to share with you the perspective of the truth about what the Marines are doing out here, and then also talk to you ultimately about how we are fundamentally doing the same thing for the same reasons. I'm sorry, different things for the same reasons.
ジャーナリストの方々はですね、真実、何が本当かっていうのを、サーチすると思うんですけれども、それでやっぱりもちろん物事っていろんな見方があると思うんですけども、真実の見方っていうのを感じていると思うんですね。で、私たちも同じように、ここでは、真実のもの、こういう見方があるっていうのをここでも伝えていきたいと思います。
So So ultimately, we want truth, we want democracy, we want freedom, and we want prosperity. In order to get that, what we do is we make sure that we provide security to make sure that we have that. What we count on is that you actually provide the truth about what we are doing and what a threat is actually doing to ensure that we are all have ultimately the same thing, which is security and prosperity and freedom.
で、それをここで必要になってくるのは真実と、
So basically, we want the truth, and we want we want the truth. We want freedom, and prosperity. So you guys write about it, and we actually provide security to protect that.
ここで大切になってくるのは真実とあと自由ですねがとても大切になってきます。で、それをすることによって一番大切なゴールである、セキュリティ、安全を確保することができます。で、ここでは、ジャーナリストの方々に真実をちゃんと伝えていただいて、誤解ですとか、同じゴール、その安全が守れるように、一緒に教えていけれたらと思います。
Without security, you can't have the freedom to produce your movies. Without freedom, you can't have the security to write the truth about the stories.
で、安全が保たれないと、フリーダムのこの自由が保たれなくて、その自由が保たれないということは、この真実を伝えることができなくなってしまうので、安全を保つということがとても大切になってきます。
So ultimately, the United States Marine Corps is here because what we are capable of to provide security for the United States and also for our ally, one of our most important ally, Japan.
で、ここにアメリカが今基地があるということは、その安全を保障しているということになります。で、この安全というのは米国の人たちだけでなく、同盟国の人たち、特にですね、この日本の国、の安全を守るという、大きな義務を抱えています。
Any questions or final comments before I go on?
質問、コメントございますか？
Good. ありがとうございます。Next slide, please. Oh, you did. I'm sorry. すみません。
軍がないと安全は守れない。Do you believe that without US being here, we will not have the safety?
The level of no. The United States has power because of the number of people and what we have been able to develop when it comes to technological advantages that Japan does not have by itself. By us being an ally with Japan, you are stronger and we are stronger.
返事はですね、もしなければ難しいと思います。なぜなら、アメリカには日本にない数の人、兵隊ですとか人ですね、あとは技術があります。アメリカだけではダメなんですけれども、アメリカと日本と協力することによってこの安全が守られるというふうに思っています。
And back to the main point, which is everything is in context. Information is in context. The context of the answer I gave you is in there are threats that Japan can counter on its own, and there are a lot of threats that Japan must rely on its allies to ensure that it has the freedom and safety that it needs.
で、他の国から攻撃されたときに日本だけでも立ち向かえる場合ももちろんあるんですけれども、その中にはやはり日本が他の同盟国と協力しなければ立ち向かえない相手もいます。
And to make sure I'm clear, I'm not saying the U.S. can do it by ourselves either. We must rely on Japan and our other allies and partners to be safe.
で、アメリカがアメリカだけでやっていけるということを言っているわけでは決してなくて、アメリカも同盟国と協力して立ち向かっていかなければならない。
that make sense? Yes.
Just a supplementary question.
Yes.
My understanding is the U.S. military is the most powerful and the strongest and the richest military in the world. But we're saying like there's this enemy that the foreign military that would not be able to fight without the help of Japan. What would that country be?
Your point reinforces my point, but the reason why the U.S. still has to rely on Japan is because we are a democracy, and we are not forcing our way of life on others. And so because Japan is also a democracy, then it allows the United States to have access to this area that it would not have if it wasn't for Japan. So the economic issues that the United States has in Asia, we must have access in order to provide security for our interests. If we did not have Japan as an ally in the way we do, we would not be able to protect our interests as far away from our homeland as we do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Just an additional question, but we understand the Constitution of Japan is prohibiting having the military forces, and the current Constitution is prohibiting. Would that kind of Constitution actually preventing this Japan-U.S. security treaty? Would Japan become a country that have its own force to strengthen the future U.S.-Japan relationship?
First of all, I appreciate the question. The main issue is it's not up to me. It's up to Japanese citizens to decide what they want to do with their own constitution. And then I'll hit one more. Do you want to add that? Okay. I'll let you continue this. I'll just say what your point was. You said the Constitution of Japan prohibits a military force. I don't read it that way. My interpretation and understanding of the Japanese Constitution, it doesn't prohibit a military force. It declares that that force is supposed to be a defensive capability. It's used to defend Japan. I think that's a key point to just say that.
ですね、質問の中で、日本国は部隊、戦争の戦力を持つことを禁止しているっていうふうに書いてるんですけど、っていう質問があったと思うんですけれども、イーステン大佐の理解としては、日本は戦力を持つのを禁止しているのではなくて、この戦力っていうのは国を守るためにだけ使われる戦力なので、戦力自体を禁止しているわけではなくて、この戦力っていうのは国を守るためにだけに使われるっていうふうに、否定しているというふうに見ています。
And so the last thing I'll say on that is back to your point, sir, which is I think to state it differently, in order to have a strong defense, you need to have a strong offense. If you don't have the ability to win a fight, but you only have the ability to prevent yourself from being hurt in a fight, you're never going to win that fight.
で先ほどの質問に今ちょっと関わってくるんですけれども、この自分たちを守るっていう力、強い力を持つためには、ディフェンスの力を持つためには、強い逆にオフェンスの力を持っていないと自分たちを守ることができないというふうにつながっています。
A quick example would be sumo wrestling. If you're just defending yourself all the time, you're never going to win the match. You have to have some offensive capability in order to finalize to win that match, right?
これ例えばの話なんですけど、例えば相撲の戦いの中で、例えばとってもディフェンス、守る力がすごく強いお相撲さんがいててもですね、守るディフェンスしかしなければ勝つことができないですよね。なので、守るためにはオフェンスの力もないと、守ることができないというふうに理解しています。
Obviously, there are ways where you can defend yourself and the individual falls on his own or falls out of the ring, then you win. But you still, in order for that individual to get in that position, he needs to be afraid of your offensive capabilities, or he more than likely never put himself in that situation.
でその中で、そのシチュエーションの中ではですね、相手が例えば転んだりとかして勝てるという可能性もなきにはないんですけれども、相手がそのような、行動をするというのは、相手が自分を怖いと思わないとそういう行動にならないと思うんですよね。でそのためにはやっぱり強い、オフェンスの力、強い、抑止力を保つことが、勝つためには、勝つというかこの平和を保つためには、ディフェンスのためには、自分の国を守るためには必要になってきます。
So I'll leave you with security and freedom. Those are the two things I want you to think through as we finish this. We'll go through the brief.
なのでここで、セキュリティというのとセーフティ安全についてこの今日のお話の中では、皆様には考えていただきたいと思います。
Okay, thank you for the questions and the comments.
質問とコメントありがとうございます。
Okay, as you can see up here quickly, we're going to go through where this is going to describe the United States Marine Corps over here in the Indo-Pacific region. We'll go through where are we right now, who we are, and then where are we going in the future, and then how we're partnering with our allies. I think is a key aspect that we must maintain in order to continue our abilities out there.
でここのプレゼンテーションではですね、私たちが何者であって、今後の行方について、皆様の理解を深めていただけることが目的となっています。
Okay, this is a quick table of organization. On the left-hand side, you'll see the Marine Expeditionary Force. That is the largest Marine command out here in the Indo-Pacific region.
でこちらにはですね、指令組織表になってます。左側が第三海兵遠征軍になってて、この地域にある一番大きな、軍の組織になってます。
So on the left-hand side, that's the Marine Expeditionary Force. And then underneath there, you're going to see the subordinate commands. This one is a 3-star general. The Marine Expeditionary Force commander is a 3-star general command. Underneath that, you can see the other stars for that command. And then the final one are the colonel commands.
で左側に見ていただけると分かるように、第3海兵遠征軍ですね。一番上のリーダーが、中将になってます。でその下にですね、少将と准将で一番下が、大佐で構成されています。
So this is the organization that prepares to fight. This is the organization that controls the installations and the bases to support the training requirements and the service members' dependents to live.
左側の組織は、実際に向かった時に、実際に、戦いに行ける方の部隊になってて、右側はですね、基地の司令部になってます。でこちらはですね、トレーニング施設ですとか、住むところを提供してます。
And so this is a 2-star general billet, Marine Corps installation specific. He is in charge of installations around the Pacific from Japan, Okinawa, mainland Japan, and then down to Guam, South Korea, and Hawaii.
で右側ですね、太平洋海兵隊基地司令部で、一番上のものは少将になってます。でこちらの司令部はですね、日本と沖縄だけでなくグアム、韓国、ハワイも組織してます。
So this is the organization that is approximately 30,000 total Marines and sailors between both of those organizations.
左側の組織にはですね、約3万人の海兵数であります。
And then with the total family members, and then we have 7,000 family members, U.S. government civilians, about 1,357, and then Japanese nationals that work for us as well at 3,700.
その中ですね、約7,000人の、アメリカの家族の方がいらっしゃって、 で、あとは約1500人の、アメリカの一般の方で、最後に約4000人の、日本国籍の方が働いています。
Does anyone know how many forces are in the Japanese Self-Defense Forces total?
誰か皆さん、自衛隊では何人の方が使っているか、ご存知の方いらっしゃいますか？
Anybody?
23万人、23万
He said 230,000.
Okay, so 230,000, and there are 30,000 Marines and employees here in Japan. So there are 230,000 in all of Japanese. There are 187,000 in just the United States Marine Corps.
そうですね、答え合ってるんですけれども、23万の自衛隊の方に比べて、ここ沖縄だけで海兵隊の人1万8000人います。なので、多い人数の人がここにいます。
Who's been in a fight before? In a fist fight in their life?
ここにいる方で誰か喧嘩したことある人いますか？
With your brother or sister at least, I'm certain.
兄弟の方でもいいんですけど、喧嘩になって実際こう戦ったことある方いますか？
And if one of them was, if you're the youngest, then you would prefer to have a couple of your friends with you when you're fighting your older brother or sister.
もしその戦った方で自分が一番下、成功の方だったら、もしお兄さんかお姉さんはあるかわからないですけど、お兄さんと戦った時に一人ではなくて友達か誰か一緒に戦ってくれる人がいたらいいなって思ったと思います。
And if you have some friends that you know are good fighters, you want to pick them, wouldn't you?
ね、もしそのいる友達の中で戦うのがとっても上手な人、強い人がいたらやっぱりその人を味方につけたいと思うと思います。
And that's what we are.
で、それが
That friend that you want to pick to help you fight.
そうですね、その戦いが強くて、もしお兄さんと戦うときにこの人一緒に味方に戦ってほしいって思うなっていう相手がここにいる、アメリカの、軍になります。
And when I share these numbers with you and where we are, don't share that with our enemies, right?
で、ここで今伝えてる人数ですとか、私たちは誰かっていう内容はもちろん敵には伝えないですよね。
Okay, on this slide is where we are actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Percentage of the sailors and marine members female.
Are female. Is it 12? Go ahead.
So I was actually just looking that up because we talked about it at the break. So, and not talking just about Okinawa, but total Marine Corps as of 2020. So I haven't dove deep for 2023's numbers. It's 8.9% is for the Marine Corps, and then for you asked earlier about the U.S. Navy. That number, I'm Navy, sir.
Yes.
That number is 20%.
I think we have up to, I think we're almost 12% on females now in 2023. But it's a matter of what do the Marines do versus other services do. And most of the time, Marines go to places that aren't a whole lot of fun to go and train and fight. And so we're trying to recruit more ladies. So if you have any more ladies that are good fighters and want to come play, we're willing to take them. You're not even sure that's another good joke. I'll move on. So here's where Okinawa. So starting from the south to north, if you're not familiar, Camp Kinser, you have Fatema, you just got briefed on. Camp Foster, this is the headquarters for Marine Corps Installation Pacific. And then Camp Lester, that's mostly where some housing is and schools. And then Camp Courtney is where the 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force command headquarters is. And then Camp Hansen to the north, and then Camp Schwab up here.
この地図に見ていただいて、これ沖縄の地図になるんですけれども、沖縄の中で、どこに基地が 位置しているかという地図になっています。で、キャンプポスターですね、左側に見えるのが太平洋海兵隊基地司令部があるところで、その右側のキャンプコートにが第三海兵遠征軍の司令部がある地図になります。
Ken, don't share that with the enemy, right?
まだ同じなんですけど、この情報ですね、敵には伝えないようにしてください。
These are some of the enduring ideas. I'll go through these quickly. So, looking at, in order to provide security for this area, we need to make sure that we're postured in the right locations and we are actually properly trained.
で、ここ、簡単にですね、持久的訓練の方を説明させていただきます。この、抑止力を保つためには、正しい、準備ができている状態、あと、訓練ですね、必要なものが、をすることが必要です。
In order to win the sumo match, you need to have your body in the right position.
例えばですね、相撲の戦いで勝つためには、それに必要な立てる、体が必要です。
And you also have to have the right techniques and be trained and be ready to execute quickly.
で、さらに、立てるための必要な技術で、すぐ動けるという、準備ができている状態もとても必要になっています。
And so that's what being in Japan provides for the United States Marine Corps, the opportunity to be in the right position and also to be aligned with our other allies and partners when it comes to training.
で、そこでこの米国、アメリカの基地が沖縄にあるっていうのはとても重要になってきます。で、ここはとても重要な場所、ですし、あとは、同盟国の方々と一緒になって訓練をするときにもここにあるこの位置っていうのがとても重要な役割になっています。
Has anyone played soccer growing up or done sumo? You look like a sumo wrestler. Did you do sumo?
相撲を小さい頃にやったことありますね。サッカー、なんでスポーツやったことあります。
Judo.
Judo, okay. But not sumo? You didn't do sumo? Okay, no. It must be the mask. Maybe I thought you did sumo.
マスクしてたからもしかして相撲やってたかなと思ったけど、柔道ですね。
Did you play any sports?
なんかスポーツやられてますか？
No, the beautiful lady in the black sweater, I was asking. Did you play any sports growing up? Oh, okay. Excellent. So, in order to win the tournament, you need to practice, right? You don't practice, you don't win. And you need to practice on the same court that you would in the actual tournament. You wouldn't practice on a grass field if you're going to play indoors, right? So that's where the challenge is that we have. We're going to talk about that a little bit more.
スポーツにちょっと関わって、具体例になるんですけれども、先ほどバレーボールやられてたっておっしゃったんですけれども、バレーボールやるためには練習が必要だと思うんですよね。練習なしにバレーボールしても勝てるように使ってると思うし、あとは練習の場所もとても大切になっていて、もしバレーボール体育館の中でやるのか、体育館の中で練習しないと、もしこれが芝生の上とかで練習してても、やっぱり勝てる可能性が低くなってしまうので、それと同じような状態がこうなっています。
And in order to practice volleyball, you need to have permission to use that building. So that's what we are constantly making sure that we maintain is the access to do our training. And then if you stay past the time that you were allotted to practice, you're going to upset the people that are controlling and running the building, and then you may upset the community if you're blasting music past midnight.
で、そのバレーボール練習するときには、その練習する体育館を借りるっていう権利を得らないといけないと思うんですけれども、同じようなことがここにもあって、ですのでトレーニングをするためには、その理解と、了約を地域から得ることが必要ですし、その中には時間を過ぎて夜遅くトレーニングして迷惑がかかってしまうのもダメですし、そのようなコミュニケーションのところです。
So that's the last point on here is talking about we must maintain positive relationships with the local communities to ensure that our impacts on them is not to the point that is negatively impacting their freedoms.
なのでここで一番重要になってくるのは、米軍の基地と地域社会との関係がとても重要になっています。
Except the things that we do make more noise, and besides the volleyball. And so, whether it's an aircraft making noise, whether it's explosions from training or gunfire, then that's the things that we need to make sure that we're constantly balancing.
でバレーボールではこういうことはないと思うんですけれども、このトレーニングで例えば、騒音がやっぱり発生してしまう飛行機ですとか、トレーニング中の銃撃の音ですとか、そういうのもあるので、その中でやはりバランスを決めていくことが重要してあります。
Okay, the rest of the brief, we're going to go through a little bit more details on that specifically. So now we're going to talk about the operating environment. This is a quick map of the, obviously, where Okinawa is where 3MF symbol is, and we're showing the locations are key for the U.S. Guam is 1,400 miles. I apologize, I need to convert this to kilometers someday.
これはですね、運用環境を示している地図になります。真ん中に赤くなっているところが沖縄ですね。で、右下がグアムになります。
So location of Tokyo to the United States, Hawaii, and then down south to Australia.
で、上からですね、東京、アメリカ、ハワイ、グアム、で、下はオーストラリアを見てます。
And so obviously provides us a key location for us to ensure that we are able to carry out our mutual security agreement for with Japan and with our other allies and partners.
で、ここの場所に位置しているというのはとてもキーポイントになっていてですね、日本、あと他の同盟国の安全を保つために重要な場所になっています。
Okay, this goes into where we are actually going. So the Marine Corps has constantly looked at understanding where we are positionally in the Indo-Pacific and where are we when it comes to our techniques that we're using to provide security for ourselves in Japan.
で、ここではですね、今後の行方を説明していくんですけれども、ここで、コンセプト、作戦があるかというのと、このインド太平洋の平和を保つために、どんなことをしていくかというのを説明していきます。
Some of the, for example, the aggressive actions of China are challenging the U.S. and Japan economically and in security.
近年ですね、中国からの、圧力がかかっててですね、経済的にも安全的にも、とても苦しい状態になっています。
So therefore, we have, as Colonel Makate mentioned, some of the things that we are looking at doing is changing how we're operating out here and where we're actually positioned in order to ensure that we can properly defend against that.
そのような状況にあるので、先ほどの、説明もあったように、この海兵隊の中の構成を編成していって、対応していっています。
And back to your point and question back there regarding the Constitution of Japan, there was also just recently, as you're aware, the National Security Strategy, the National Defense Strategy of Japan. They have now reinterpreted some of what's practice, right? You don't practice, you don't win. And you need to practice on the same court that you would in the actual tournament. You wouldn't practice on a grass field if you're going to play indoors, right? So that's where the challenge is that we have. We're going to talk about that a little bit more.
スポーツにちょっと関わって、例えになるんですけれども、先ほどバレーボールやられていたっておっしゃったんですけれども、バレーボールやっぱり勝つには練習 が必要だと思うんですよね。練習なしにバレーボールしても勝てるでも難しいと思うし、あとは練習の場所もとても大切になってきて、もしバレーボール体育館の中でやるんだったら体育館の中で練習しないと、もしこれが芝生の上とかで練習していてもやっぱり勝てる可能性が低くなってしまって、でそれと同じようなこう、
And in order to practice volleyball, you need to have permission to use that building. And so that's what we are constantly making sure that we maintain is the access to do our training. And then if you stay past the time that you're allotted to practice, you're going to upset the people that are controlling and running the building, and then you may upset the community if you're blasting music past midnight.
でそのバレーボール練習するときにはその練習する体育館を借りるっていう権利を得らないといけないと思うんですけれども、同じようなことがここにもあって、そのトレーニングをするためにはその理解と、了諾を地域から得ることが必要ですし、その中には時間を過ぎて夜遅くトレーニングしてて迷惑がかかってしまうのもダメですし、そのようなコミュニケーションということです。
So that's the last point on here is talking about we must maintain positive relationships with the local communities to ensure that our impacts on them is not to the point that it is negatively impacting their freedoms.
なのでここで一番重要になってくるのは、米軍の基地と地域社会との関係がとても重要になってきます。
Except the things that we do make more noise besides a volleyball. And so whether it's an aircraft making noise, whether it's explosions from training or gunfire, then that's the things that we need to make sure that we're constantly balancing.
でバレーボールではこういうことはないと思うんですけれども、このトレーニングで例えば、騒音がやっぱり発生してしまうこの飛行機ですとか、トレーニング中の銃撃の音ですとか、そういうのもあるので、その中でやはりバランスをちゃんと決めていくことが、米軍の知識が大切です。
Okay, the rest of the brief, I'm going to go through a little bit more details on that specifically. So now we're going to talk about the operating environment. This is a quick map of obviously, where Okinawa is where the 3 symbol is, and we're showing the locations are key for the U.S. Guam is 1,400 miles. I apologize, we need to convert this to kilometers someday.
これはですね、運用環境を示している地図になります。で、真ん中に赤くなっているところが沖縄ですね。で、右下がグアムになります。
So location of Tokyo to the United States, Hawaii, and then down south to Australia.
で、上からですね、東京、アメリカ、ハワイ、グアム、で、下はオーストラリアを持っています。
And so obviously provides us a key location for us to ensure that we are able to carry out our mutual security agreement with Japan and with our other allies and partners.
で、この場所に位置しているというのはとてもキーポイントになっててですね、日本、あと他の同盟国の安全を保つために重要な場所になっています。
Okay, this goes into where we are actually going. So the Marine Corps has constantly looked at understanding where we are positionally in the Indo-Pacific and where are we when it comes to our techniques that we're using to provide security for ourselves in Japan.
で、ここではですね、今後の行方を説明していくんですけれども、ここで、コンセプト、いろんな実験、作戦、どの作戦があるかというのと、このインド太平洋の平和を保つために、どんなことをしていくかというのを説明していきます。
Some of for example, the aggressive actions of China are challenging the U.S. and Japan economically and in security.
で、近年ですね、中国からの、圧力がかかっててですね、経済的にも安全的にも、とても、苦しい状態になっています。
So therefore, we have, as Colonel Makate had mentioned, some of the things that we are looking at doing is changing how we're operating out here and where we're actually positioned in order to ensure that we can properly defend against that.
そのような状況にあるので、先ほどの、説明もあったように、この海兵隊の中の構成を編成していって、対応していっています。
And back to your point and question back there regarding the Constitution of Japan, there was also just recently, as you're aware, the National Security Strategy and National Defense Strategy of Japan. They have now reinterpreted some of what latitude the Constitution of Japan allows them to do in order to ensure that they can continue to secure Japan.
で、先ほどの安全保障協議会の話も出たんですけれども、日本の国防長官の方もですね、この防衛にあたって内容の方を少し変えていってます。
In addition to the number of years that the U.S. has been here in Okinawa and the amount of challenges that our military presence has brought to Okinawa, Japan has re-looked at how we are going to posture ourselves and the Japanese self-defense forces throughout the Pacific region.
で、もうこのアメリカの基地はここに何年もあるんですけれども、日本の国防官ですね、もう一度見直して、どのようにこれからしていくのがいいかというのを見直しています。
So, for those that have been studying it as well, there was the security talks between the United States and the government of Japan just recently at the end of last year, which reconfirmed our commitment to each other.
で、皆さん、ニュース等で見ている方もいらっしゃるかもしれないんですけれども、日本の国と、アメリカ側の国ですね、去年末に、安全保障について、会議の方をしまして、お互いですね、この安全とともに、安全を守っていくっていう話ですがね。
And we've agreed upon a plan to relocate about 9,000 Marines from Okinawa to Guam and also some Marines to mainland Japan.
その話の内容の一部に、沖縄の負担を少しでも、減らすために、9000人の、兵隊をグアムに移動する。で、あとはグアムだけではなくて日本の本島の方にも移動するという話に出ました。
The last thing to wrap this piece up would be the main piece that we need to talk about is the supporting effort that we must have is we need to have the support of the local community.
これが最後のスライドになるんですけれども、一番重要なところですね。これは、地域の社会の方々の連携になります。
And politics rules in everything, and especially starting at the local level.
で、政治とですね、政治、ルール、すべてですね、この地域からスタートします。
And I'm certain the professors have explained that to you numerous times.
で、教授の方々からもお話があったかと思うんですけれども、地域の大切さというのがとても重要です。
And someone that's interested in either journalism or movies, you understand the critical role that you play and can play in politics, whether you choose to or not. Whatever you do, whether you publish, it's going to impact politics unless nobody reads it. But I think you guys are going to be good, so everyone's going to read it.
で、皆さんこの先ですね、ジャーナリストもしくは映画に関わる方々だと思うんですけれども、意図があってもなくてもですね、政治、ご自身が作られた記事もしくは映画が外に出たときに何かの形で政治に関わってくると思います。
So as I wrap this up, the government and external affairs office that I represent, this is the key thing that I deal with in talking to key leaders, whether it's working with local mayors or the Okinawa prefectural government, or working with the government of Japan.
で、ここで、重要になってくるのはですね、やっぱりキーリー 主要なリーダーの方々との関わりですね。それが市長さんですとか、国の方、その方々との関わりがとても大切になっています。
So we make sure that, like Colonel Picate and other commanders understand this important piece as they're training to maintain our readiness, that all of our Marines and sailors understand that we will respect the people, the land, and the resources.
で、そのためにですね、リーダーだけではなくて、すべての海兵隊全員がですね、この沖縄地域の人々を尊敬する、地域を大切にするっていうのを、ちゃんと理解しているっていうのを確実にしています。
So, as I said, going back to security and freedom. So there's a saying that I believe is key, and when you as journalists understand the balance that we constantly play between security and freedom.
で一番最初に伝えた、大切なキーがですね、セキュリティとセーフティ、になるんですけれども、ジャーナリストの方がこのバランスを保つことがとても気になります。
If you focus on security over freedom, you risk losing both.
でもし、フリーダム、自由よりもセキュリティの方に、フォーカスがいくとバランスが崩れてしまって、その自由フリーダムも、保護することができなくなってしまいます。
And that's the balance that we constantly play with our argument that we must maintain readiness and train in this particular area to support your freedom. But if it interferes on your freedom to the point where you can't do what you want, then now you've lost both.
でここでこのバランスがとても大切になってくるっていうのはですね、この自由、フリーダム、国の自由を守るために、海兵軍常にトレーニングしたりですとか、いつでも準備ができる体制を持ってるんですけれども、もしそのトレーニングをするという行為が、地域の方々の自由を妨げているとなると、またそれは問題になってしまうので、そこのバランス、良いバランスを保つことがとてもキーになってきます。
So I ask, as you continue to go on with your studies and eventually your career, you understand the role that you can play in ensuring that we check ourselves with not overextending what we think we need and that it's negatively impacting freedom.
で今後ですね、ジャーナリストとして活動される際に、このようなことを考えていただいて、一方的なこと、一つの見方だけを追求しているのではなくて、これが周りにどのような影響を与えるかということも考えていただきたいと思います。
It's a difficult profession that you're getting into, and so I applaud you for doing that because your efforts are going to continue to establish the freedom and democracy that both of our countries need.
このジャーナリストというお仕事、簡単なお仕事ではないと思うんですけれども、ジャーナリストのお仕事はこの私たち全員の自由、セキュリティというのを保つためにとても重要な役割の一つになると思うので、これから頑張ってください。
With that, I'll wrap this up, and then if anyone has any questions they'd like to come up forward, I can answer any questions or have a conversation. Besides that, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing some articles that you read in the future.
本日はこれで終了したいとここでは終了したいと思います。もし質問があれば、個人的に来ていただければお答えさせていただきます。本日は来ていただいてありがとうございます。
Or taking that leading role in your movie when I retire.
For this next portion, I'm going to be splitting us up into 3 groups, and we're going to go one group through at a time. So once I take this first group, everyone else who's here, if they still have any questions or if you want to answer, I'll be leaving there. But I'm going to take these 2 rows first, so it should be 8 in total, including the translator. I'm going to have you come with me. We're going to go across the street to another building. You can leave your bags here if you want to. You can take cameras and stuff in there with you. You'll be able to take pictures. We're going to a MV-22 simulator, and I'll talk to you more about it when we get over there.
Brett, if you could take the back row and front row first, because those are the 2 rows that ask the most difficult questions.
So I wanted to make sure I get the translator come as well. So I'll get these 8. We're going to rotate every half an hour. So in about 25 minutes, I'll take the next group of 8 over, and then this group will come back. So we're going to come back to this classroom after. So if you guys want to follow me.
はい、ではですね、次のところをですね、グループ3つに分けていただきます。で、ここに戻ってくるので、荷物がありましたら置いていっていただいて結構です。25分くらいでの可能性があります。で、残っている方はですね、もし質問あれば質問していただいて結構です。で、次の場所は、道挟んだ反対側の建物になります。で、そこでは MD22 のシミュレーター再現していただきます。
I'm going to leave her there for each group. So I'm going to keep Mara here, and I'm going to keep her there.
Yeah, no, thank you, please, どうぞ。
ですね、アメリカが、ね、世界の、ね、平和と安全と、ね、平和になっていると思うんですよね。で、個人的にはね、そういう疑問とかですね、国家のためにね、戦う、あるいは世界の平和とね、自由のために戦うということによって、自分のね、そこに命を懸けて戦うというようなことに対してですね、彼自身がですね、ちょっと疑問に思うこととかですね、そういうことはないのかなっていう、ちょっと個人的な質問です。
His question is this was your personal opinion, not as a theory. So he's saying he's asking as US but for example, when Iraq measures war, US lost about 4,500 soldiers, and that place is far away from their homeland. So have you ever wondered why where have you ever questioned English? Why are we using our lives where so far from?
Thank you. Yes, I have questioned, but I will say again, I joined the Marine Corps to fight for freedom and also democracy, which means in order for a democracy to happen, there's two different groups. There's a group that has the ability to be violent, and there's a group that controls the violence. And that group that controls the violence are the politicians. Our previous politicians made decisions to send us to Iraq, and as an individual that understands that my responsibility is to fight that, and I don't know all the details. I took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. Our people elected those people. Those people decided we're going to Iraq. I fought in Iraq with a happy heart.
そうですね、疑問に思うことがありますかという質問だったと思うんですけど、疑問にあることはあります。ただ、この自由とデモクラシーを守るためには、とても必要なこと、自分の立場というのはとても重要な立場というふうに思っています。で、この中にはですね、バイオレントとても、危険なものを作るところと、それをコントロールできる、政府ですね、がいると思います。で、この先ほどイラクの話があったと思うんですけれども、標的の政府はですね、こんだけの兵隊をアメリカから送るという決断を出したので、それに従ってその自由とデモクラシーを守るために自分は疑問なく戦いに行きました。
And then I think a big responsibility that I'm saying about the journalists, that's key, because journalists will pull out what the truth is to help ensure the checks and balances on what the politicians are saying is real, is in fact real. And many journalists have exposed when the politicians were abusing their powers. And so that's why it is so critical that we maintain freedom of speech and journalists keep doing what they do.
ここでですね、皆さんこのジャーナリストのお仕事というのはとても大切な意味があります。先ほどの話もあったんですけれども、真実を伝えるというのがとても大切で、この政治家の方とか政府がですね、本当にちゃんと正しいことをやっているか、正しいことを伝えるということがとても大切になってきます。
Any other, does that answer your question?
大丈夫ですか、質問の答えを。
ろいろ質問があるので、全ては明日の朝までかかってしまいますからちょっととりあえず他の人に。
Ah,
He
yes.
keep asking.
Yes, yes.
It's gonna be tomorrow, so he's gonna pass it to the next.
See me 1800 with a Vicky and we'll talk.
じゃあ6時にですね、
そうね
Yes, please.
ショコさん、いいですか、
はい
お話ありがとうございました。私はコーディネーターの一人なので、ジャーナリストになってそれを目指しているソーシャルワーカーなんですけれども、今、リスペクトピーポーというくだりのところで、ここに赴任される新しいメンバーの人について、例えば日本が沖縄についてどのように事前に教育をされているんでしょうか、どのように伝えていらっしゃるんでしょうか。例えば沖縄27年間アメリカ政府統治下にいますので、そういう歴史的経緯とかを伝えられるとか、それから95年の事件に代表されるようにさまざまな事件が起きていると思います。でこう言ったら失礼かもしれませんけれども、例えば今だから令和2年に関してこれまでの経緯から差別的な意識などないのでしょうか。
So she's not only, so she's not a future journalist, she's a social worker.
Okay.
But her question is, so when you carry back to Okinawa, do they know how to go to training to learn about Okinawan history, as we talk about as the big wars and incident, do they go through legal years?
Prior to Marines deploying out here or actually being stationed out here, they get classes on understanding the political environment and the sensitivities to their conduct while they're here.
で、高校に到着する際ですね、ここで仕事をする前に、こちらの政治のことについてですとかのクラスを受けてた、クラスを受けます。
Yeah, and there's so do our family members. So we have a newcomer's brief, an orientation where everyone that shows up to live here, they go through a full day of education on it, and then it continues more after they stay.
で、兵隊の方々だけではなくて、家族の方々も、到着してすぐ丸1日かけたオリエンテーションがあるので、そのオリエンテーションを受けます。で、その後もオリエンテーション何回か開催されるので、そのオリエンテーションをして、沖縄ですとか日本のことを学びます。
私のポイントの大きなところは、いろいろな国の中で、技能者の中で、民族の中で、お互い優越意識とか差別的な意識というのはどこでもあると思うんですよね。そういう意味で、ここに見られるアメリカ人のケースの中に、そうした差別意識がないというのと、
So her concern is that around the world we always embrace it. So when they come from come to this
The U.S. since the Civil War at that point became a beacon of freedom for everyone. We've stumbled along the way. We're not perfect, but we've always kept that foundation of who we truly are, in my opinion. And so there are Americans that I still think hold some prejudices and potentially racist beliefs, but overall, what the country represents, and when a Marine joins the Marine Corps, he's fighting for that. And so the majority of what I've seen in my over 23 years is there is not, racism is not a systemic problem in the Marine Corps. It is a problem, and it will always be a problem because human beings will always make mistakes. But I don't believe that the challenge that we're having right now is Marines coming over here with racist beliefs.
ですね、アメリ ろん間違いを犯すことはありますが、ここに来る、海兵の方、米軍の方ですね、この人種差別に関しては問題っていうのは
And I think our world is becoming, each country is becoming more nationalistic, which is creating more problems with race in our world. And the United States, I think, is having some challenges with that as well. And COVID did not help.
今、世界がですね、だんだん近くなってきている状況になっているんですけれども、それがあって、人種差別っていうのも浮き上がってきている問題だとは思います。で、このコロナがあって、それでコロナによってこの人種差別が良くならなかった、残念ながらですが、良くなったわけではないと思います。これはアメリカだけではなくて、世界どこでもある問題だと思います。
One of the things that my office leads is community relations, community engagements. So that breaks down that barrier when Marines are able to interact with the local community, the people of Okinawa or the people of whatever prefecture in Japan, and they realize that we have way more similarities than we have differences.
コミュニティリレーションシップっていうところがあるんですけれども、そこでは地域の方々とのコミュニケーション、地域の方々と関われる機会を作ってます。で、やっぱり実際に地域の方と関わることによって、私たちってそんなに違う人間じゃないんだ、もっと共通しているところがいっぱいあるんだということを発見することができて、それが人種差別を減らしていく機会になっています。
Many of our Marines actually want to stay here after they've been here, and many of them end up marrying local nationals.
で、この沖縄に来た海兵の方はですね、沖縄の人に来て長くいたいっていう人も多くいらっしゃいますし、中には沖縄は、日本の方と結婚して一緒に住む方も多くいらっしゃいます。
But as a social worker, that we can have other conversations about the problems that creates when Marines, when there's divorce and challenges with that. So that's another thing that we deal with.
In the DD issues in Hawaii.
Yes, yes. Okay, I was stationed in Hawaii as well. So yes. Now, thank you for your question. Thank you. Yes, yes, please.
今の質問の続きなんですけど、歴史的に見ると、1945事件を起き続けてきたわけですよね。事故だったり、墜落だったり、兵器だったり、殺人だったり。で、じゃあなぜそれを起き続けてきたのかについて、アメリカ軍でいう原因をどんなふうに考えているのか。その対策、沖縄の人と仲良くしたいっていう方を大事にするのがいいんですけど、本当に沖縄の住民の安全を実現しようとしたときに、今、現実的に何が足りないかについて、どんな取り組みだったり、そういう人がアメリカなどに入って必要なことにしているかということを聞きたい。
It's kind of related to the first question, but after war terminated in 1945, it is very important as we mentioned in the briefing, the war committed, rape, murder, unfortunate incident. Yes, she can see that radio communication of however, the incident didn't happen. What your thought of what is missing or what can you do?
That is the challenge that we deal with on a regular basis. There's an inherent risk with military operations. So we mitigate that by not flying over populated areas. Majority of our flights are off the island. We get as quickly off the island as we can and then fly to wherever we need to go to and go that way.
でいくつか問題を違う問題が出てたと思うんですけれども、こういった問題はですね現在も、毎日、重要視している問題点になるんですけれども、例えばですね飛行機から物が落ちてしまった事件とかに関しますと、飛行機の飛ぶ場所を変えるというような対策を取ってます。でこの住宅街の上を通ると危ないので、やっぱり海落ちないような対策を取っているのももちろんですけれども、その飛ぶ人が住んでいるところの上を飛ばないようなルートを変えているという方法を取っています。
And then it might be an interpretation thing, but to say the events keep happening, if you put it all in context in 75 years, what events are you talking about? The events like things falling off aircraft and landing in populated areas is very, very small.
でやっぱり事件とか事故が起こって、ずっと起きているというふうにおっしゃったかと思うんですけれども、75年間経っててですね、その事件の数っていうのはだんだん減ってはいます。
Don't misunderstand. I'm not minimizing when things have happened and there were tragedies. I'm just putting it in perspective. Is that the number of those tragedies compared to the amount of operations is very small.
でこういう事件とか事故っていうのは起きてはいいと言ってるわけではないですし、少ないからいいって言ってるわけでは決してないんですけれども、その長い期間を見ると、その実際起きてる事件の数は起き続けてるっていうわけではないです。
And the number of violent crimes is also the percentage right now is very. There has not been violent crime from a U.S. Marine in Okinawa in many years.
で先ほどレイプですとか殺人の事件という話も出たと思うんですけれども、近年においてはこの海兵軍のそういった事件というのはないです。
But again, especially a rape, anything like that should never happen. So I'm not. You're allowing me to have a conversation with you about this. I just want to put everything into proper perspective.
でもちろんそういったレイプとか殺人事件というのは起きてはいけないことなので、最近起きてないからいいと言っているわけではもちろんないんですけれども、ないです。
The things that we deal with mostly are the drunk driving offenses or Marines overly intoxicated and doing stupid things out in town, whether it's destructing a property or a simple assault.
で最近の事件っていうのは飲酒運転とかですね、あとは酔っ払ってしまってくだらないことをしてしまうっていうような事件が最近は多いです。
So the majority of the Marines are 18 to 24, and they like to fight. That's why they joined the Marine Corps, and we're ensuring that they're disciplined when they come out here.
で海兵隊の方は大概の方が18歳から24歳の方が多くて、で戦うのが好きで海兵隊に入ってくる方が多いので、特にここにいる間はちゃんと規制ルールを守るっていう、指導をしてます。
And so our constant balance and challenge is continuously leading and guiding and mentoring our Marines to be more disciplined with themselves. And it's a challenge that every country has with that age group.
でここでもバランスっていうのがとても大切になってきて、やっぱりこの若い人たち、ちゃんとルールを守ってもらう、規制をちゃんと、守ってもらうっていうのを、支持するというのもとても必要なことだと思います。
Does that make sense?
例えばじゃあレイプの問題で少なくなってきて近年、起きてないってことですけど、沖縄の女性たちが長く、恋にはせずにそういう性暴力を経験された方もたくさん表立ってないだけでたくさんいると思うんですけど、そういう沖縄の、レイプみたいな事件の歴史とかもちゃんとその教育の中では教えているんです。さっき指導って言ってたので、具体的にその指導ってどんなことされているのかなと気になったんですけれども、それについて詳しいことを教えてください。
This criminal statistics are part of that. We show the history and the background. Back in 1945, there was a lot more crime happening, and the statistics show that it has gotten better. It's gotten better because we have, our leaders have enforced better conduct over here, and those have been learning from our mistakes.
新しく来た方がですね、最初のオリエンテーションに来るんですけど、その中でもそのレイズの話とかも出ます。で、この1945年、最初の方はやっぱりレイズの数が多分多くて、で、このオリエンテーションの中でこんだけの数のレイズがあって、で、今こんなにですね。で、特にそこでは、過去の、過ちから何が学べるかっていうようなことをオリエンテーションで伝えています。
There's been many examples where Marines actually go out of their way to help the people of Okinawa or on mainland Japan. And the reason that they're doing that is exactly that they're good people and they're here actually to provide security. And it's unfortunate when a Marine does something that causes fear in the society, because that's exactly the opposite of what they should think. When anyone sees a Marine, they should think, I'm safe, everything's okay.
ここにいる海兵隊の人ですね、仕事以外でも、地域の人、内地でも沖縄でもですけれども、自分の人を助ける、人を助けてます。で、本当の姿勢でしたら、この海兵隊を見て、安全だなっていうふうに皆様には思ってもらいたい、そんな存在でありたいと思ってます。
That's how we train them and lead them. And so it's something we'll continue to focus on.
で、それはやっぱりリーダーの人たちはそのようにトレーニングの方を行ってで、今後もそのようなトレーニングを続けていきたいと思います。
Right, one more.
One more, just one more?
Yes.
I actually have two questions.
I'll give you guys my card in India. I got a meeting with the general at 1200, so I got time for one more.
Okay, I have a one and a half question. The first one is just supplementary to
Yes.
follow up with her. So you mentioned that the rate of the crime is declining since 1945.
Yes.
That is actually new information for me actually, because as a reporter in Japan, I have never seen data before Okinawa returned to Japan in 1972. We've been told that there's no official data available after the war ended to 71. So by saying that the rate of the crime is declining, do you mean that actually the data is available, is existing to show that?
Oh yeah, data, yes, there is. Again, with my job, it's my responsibility to understand the facts before I have conversations with the local communities. When the leaders are saying certain things, I need to understand what's the context of the conversation. If you go on Okinawa Prefectural Government's website, there will be a list of crimes that they are tracking.
Okay.
The data that I have is a combination of what we track and what Okinawa Prefectural Government tracks. The trend is the same. The information is somewhat different. And the reason I say that is because, again, politics drives everything. So the Okinawa Prefectural Government is a political organization that wants to maintain power. Therefore, they're going to use statistics to the best of their ability to support the argument that they have. The United States Marine Corps is supposed to be disciplined and not do that. We're not political, but at the same time, I'm certain there has been some, it may not be completely accurate, but from what I have seen is, it clearly shows that there were rapes, there were murders regularly in 1945 through like the mid-1950s. And individuals were not being prosecuted to the level that you would think that would be fair. So you can see those trends, you can see that reality, and the number of murders since 1945 by a U.S. Marine is very low. The number of violent crimes, whether it's violent assault or an actual rape, is also very low. What we are seeing is petty crime is lower as well, but it's still happening. And then the DUIs, the drunk driving, is still the same when you look at the percentages of drivers. And so our numbers percentage-wise of DUIs of the Okinawans is very low. The number of percentage of DUIs, if you look at numbers, they're higher, but if you do the percentage, it's the same. We've allowed drivers, more drivers. There's about 3 times more vehicles that are being driven by Marines in the last 3 years, because we've allowed sergeants and below to drive now. Because they were being brought over here. We need you to go fight for freedom and go to Iraq. I'm sorry, go to Okinawa and fight for their freedom. But you can't have a car, because if you get in an accident, it's going to cause strategic issues, and we can't afford that. Well, then we have Marines that don't want to go to Okinawa then. It's not like, how is this something I want to do for 3 years? And so they're fighting those orders. So in order to fix that and make this not where a Marine is going over here for 3 years and he doesn't have any freedom now, they've changed that. So now there are more accidents and more drunk drivers because, again, 18 to 24, those individuals that are willing to take more risks, they're doing that. They're speeding, they're getting more traffic tickets, they're causing accidents, and they're drinking and driving. But still, percentage-wise, we are lower.
Okay, I'd love to receive the data, so probably gonna ask if Brad's.
Yeah, you can hit up,
Just super quick question, follow-up question, if that's okay.
and open up OPG, look up OPG's website, they'll tell you everything about us.
So in terms of strengthening the connection with local community, there has been a discussion mainly on the internet that people protesting against the U.S. military base presence in Okinawa are bought by Chinese communist parties, or like sent from China, or Chinese spy. The kind of information is flowing in the internet. So I want to know like who they really are, and then what's your understanding of it, and how do you?
I can tell you 2 things. One, if I knew the truth, I couldn't tell you because it's classified. And then 2, when I was a lieutenant driving in 2001, the protesters that are standing there, I would pull up and they would start protesting, and I'd say, arigatou gozaimasu, and they're like, they come over and they're like, hey, we really like you guys. We're just doing this. We're getting some money for it. So sorry, we got to do this, but don't take offense to this. So people that were protesting there said that to me. Some of that is true, but again, if you're talking about basically whether people are actually doing that kind of stuff to us, it's classified, whether, how we collect on it and whether we really know that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so are they really from China?
Again, I'll have to check your security clearance so I can tell you.
Okay.
And then next would be is, what do you think? The reason I ask you that is because look at the political environment of, if you were China, what do you think you would do and why? So next is, do they have a legitimate complaint? There are some things that are legitimate, right? But moving Phutema up north away from populated areas when this is a strategic airfield, it's on high ground. If a typhoon's hit and you want to be able to do humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, you need this high ground. And we need to be able to do logistics. You need this. You take this and take this away from us, we don't have the capabilities to do all those things that Colonel Pacate said about how we've supported disasters in the past. You move us up to Phutema, we don't have the same airstrip. That airstrip does not have the same capabilities. It's half the size. So it's not positive for the future of Japan to move us from Futema to up there, if you want the same security and same response times. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sir, I'm going to grab these two rooms,
Yeah, yeah.
and we really appreciate your time.
No, of
So,
course,
thank
yep.
you, sir.
Yep, I'm heading to see the general, and if anyone else has more questions,
You send them to me, and
Yeah.
I get answers.
exactly. And then besides that, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to have the dialogue. And I will leave you with one more thing again. Thank you. Journalism is not something that is necessarily an honorable thing when it comes to our societies. Don't always treat them as always the best. They look at them as the enemy, that's, or they're liars, or giving them false information and stuff. That's your balance that you got to figure out when you're pushing out the truth, and the person you work for changes your story to publish it because it doesn't fit the political agenda of the people that are paying for that magazine, or the newspapers, or whatever else, or that social media. Newspapers are gone, right? Same thing we do. People are constantly questioning, what are you doing? Why are you, you're creating all these problems? We are in the same, our goal is the same. And so I appreciate what you do, and as long as you keep writing bad stories about me, means that I'm winning. Because you feel safe enough to do it.
So I'm going to take you 8. Once I go over there and bring you guys to the simulator, I'm going to bring that group back here,
Yes.
and then I'll be available still for some more
Yes.
conversations, and then we'll bring the last group through after. So you all want to follow me?
My birthday?
It's a short walk across the street.
ここは問題児に過ぎます。